computer. We'll start with the review of the last class slokas. We covered two very important slokas in the last class. So, who wants to recite it? Okay, go ahead.
Dhyaayato vishayaan pumsaha Sangasteshu pajayate Sangat sanjayate kama Kamat krodho vijayate Krodhaad bhavati samohaha Samohat smriti vibhramaha Smriti Brahmshat Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati
Pranashyati. Okay. Very good. And the meaning?
The meaning is when you think about the materialistic world, attachment arises. From attachment, desire arises. From desire, which is unfulfilled, anger rises. Anger then becomes delusion. Delusion leads to loss of memory, which leads to loss of intelligence, and finally, you will perish.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So did we do this quiz last time? No? Did we do a Sanskrit quiz last time?
No.
Last class.
Last.
No. I
Not
don't think
last.
we ever did.
Okay, then let's do this. How much Sanskrit do you know? Swargam. What is the meaning of Swargam?
Heaven.
Right, heaven. Kama. Kama. You just recited the sloka.
Memory?
No, Kama. Kamat krodho vijayate.
Yeah.
What comes from where does anger come? Krodha, you know, right?
Yeah, anger comes from
Krodha,
unfulfilled desire.
So what is Kama?
Unfulfilled desire?
No, it is just desire. Yeah, it is just desire. How about Tasma? Yeah, Tasmat Uttishta Kaunteya. You remember the sloka, you should also remember the meaning. Tasmat, what is the meaning of Tasmat? What is the meaning of Uttishta?
Get up.
Right. So what does Tasmat mean?
Sun.
Be brave, or you're not so brave.
So how does the slokas go?
The meaning is of the last line is be brave, Arjuna, and be victorious and determined, and go fight the war.
And therefore, get up, right?
So
Tasmat means therefore. Va. What is va in Hindi and Sanskrit? Hindi also same meaning. Va.
or be?
Va. No, va.
Like Eva or Va? Just Va.
Just va. We came across that word, I think a couple of times, right? At least a couple of times. Va. Va means or in Hindi and in Sanskrit. How about Pumsa?
Person.
Yeah, Pumsa is person. See, you have to remember the meanings also. Uttishta,
Get up.
you already saw that. Sammoha,
Delusion.
right, delusion. Phaleshu,
Fruit.
Fruit. I was about to say the same thing.
yeah, phala is fruit.
Yummy.
Phaleshu means in fruit. Karmani,
Uh,
what is karma?
Action.
Right.
so, ling.
So karmani
In
means in
action.
action. Karmanye vadikaraste. Sukheshu,
Happiness.
in happiness. Smriti, what is smriti? In the last sloka we came across smriti.
Smriti Vibramana.
Right. Smriti Vibhramaha. So what is smriti? What are the words before that? Smriti Vibhramaha. Or after that?
Samoha.
Sammoha. Sammoha means delusion. You said that, right?
Yeah.
Samoha. Is it memory?
Yeah. Smriti means memory.
Makes sense.
In fact, some Indian girls have this name, Smriti.
Yeah.
Krodha.
Anger.
Right. And Buddhi.
Good.
Knowledge.
Right. Intelligence.
It also means knowledge.
Dihi means mind, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Buddhi means something to do with mind, intelligence. Buddhi. So Buddhi is intelligence.
So Bu is a helping suffix.
Yeah.
Prefix.
Yes. Okay, once again, what is the meaning of Va?
Or.
Good. And which other is Tasmat?
Therefore.
Good. Kama?
In action.
Kama.
Yeah, desire.
Yeah, desire. Good. And where any other words which were missed? You got all of this right, right?
Smriti.
Smriti is memory.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to remember these words. You have to remember not just the meaning in entirety, but also meaning of each word. It is called Pratipada Ardha. So Prati means every. Pada
Telugu too.
in Telugu too. Prati means every. Pada means word. Ardha means meaning. So when we were young, we used to learn the sloka or the verse. We used to learn its meaning in entirety, and also we used to learn the Pratipada Ardha. So every word's meaning. So that is very important. That's the way you can appreciate the language, you can appreciate the knowledge, right? Okay. Okay. So now let us go to the last sloka of the chapter. Sankhya Yoga. This is one of the longest chapters. It has 72 verses.
Wow.
And this is the 72nd verse. Second chapter, 72nd verse.
So the very last one.
Yeah, it's the very
Verse
last
is
one.
Sloka, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the sloka goes like this. Esha Brahmee Stithi Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Stitva Syamanta Kalepi Brahma Nirvana Mruchati. Right? So, what does it mean? This is the Brahmic seat, eternal state, O son of Pritha. Partha, remember? Remember this? Partha.
Son of
Pritha. Who is Pritha?
Prita. As mother. Or
Kunti,
Yeah.
right? It's the other name of Kunti. So, O son of Kunti, this is the Brahmic seat, eternal state. Attaining to this, no one is deluded. Being established therein, even at the end of life, one attains to oneness with Brahman. This is a deep meaning, right? This is somewhat much more deeper than the meaning of the other slokas. But we will go, like before, we will explain this meaning we'll elaborate on the meaning so that you will understand. Because this itself is not, you may not have understood the meaning, right? From this, it's a bit tough. Brahmic seat, eternal state. When you attain to this state, no one is deluded. That means no longer delusion, no more delusion. And when you are in this state, even at the end of life, one attains to the oneness of with Brahman. What is Brahman?
It's the highest.
Okay, we'll look at it one by one. Let us go word by word. Esha. Esha means this,
Doesn't Isha mean God?
but here it is Esha. This letter is A. So Esha means this. Brahmii means, in this case, it's the meaning given is spiritual. But what Brahmi actually means is Brah means, okay, what is man? What is man? Brahman. Let us look at the word Brahman. What is man? There are two words in it, right? In Brahman, there are two words, Braha and Man. What is Man? This is,
Same in English?
yeah,
Man?
some not exactly same, but similar. Man. In Hindi also same thing, Sanskrit also same thing. In Telugu also it is somewhat similar.
Brahma.
Yeah, Brahma is the god, but what does Brahman mean?
One who
Brah-
attains spiritual state.
Yeah, it's a state, but what kind of state? There are two words in Brahman,
The godly.
Brah and Man. What does Man mean?
Godly.
No, Man. It is there in all of us.
Good.
Man.
Mind.
Yeah, see? You got it right. Man means mind.
Oh.
Brah means, Brahmanda. You heard the word Brahmanda. What does Brahmanda mean? It's universe. Universe is called Brahmanda. Anda means egg, right? In Hindi and in Sanskrit, Anda means egg.
The egg of the universe.
The Brah Anda. Brah and Anda. Anda is because we are all born out of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So that we are Anda is like, it's like the egg which gave birth to all of us. We all were born from it. But what is Brah? What does Brah mean? In that universe. And do you know any properties of the universe?
Space. No gravity.
Okay. Any other properties like?
Stars.
Did you hear that the universe is ever expanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it, right? So Brah means expanding. See, so universe is thought to be expanding. I mean, discovered to be expanding recently, right? I mean, some years back. But our Vedas, which are millions of years old, they gave the name Brahmanda to the universe. So they already knew that the universe expands billions and millions of years ago. See, that is the power of Sanskrit and our culture. That is the kind of knowledge that we are trying to gain from these classes. So Brah means?
Universal.
Brah means?
Expanding.
Expanding.
So
Good.
expanding egg line.
Brahmanda means expanding egg.
So expanding egg.
Brahman means expanding mind.
Brahman means expanding mind.
Ah.
So God is nothing but Brahman. God is expanding mind.
Wait.
When you expand your mind, you automatically are united with the God.
But doesn't everybody expand their mind?
No, no, you will. I don't know if you can experience it right away, because for children you are almost like God. In many languages they say that children are like God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Right?
in a Tenali Rama story.
Yeah. So there are many songs also in different languages. In Tamil there is a song. Anyway, so children, the mind is anyway expanding. So they are one with God anyway, to some extent. But as you grow, you will feel that your mind contracts. You can see, you can visualize when you start meditating and all that, and when you start realizing what's happening in your mind. One of the things that happens in meditation is you realize what happens in your body and mind. So you will start realizing that your mind is contracting instead of expanding, because of the thoughts, because of the tensions, because of the anxiety. The mind contracts.
Because of attachment. Because in the last
Yeah.
sloka it says when you have attachment, you get loss of intelligence.
Yeah, so it contracts the mind. So you can actually expand the mind. My math lecturer in my 11th and 12th grade used to say that if you do math, you can see how much your brain expands every day. So math is a great knowledge, right? Why is this chapter called Sankhya Yoga? Sankhya means counting. Why is it called Sankhya Yoga? Counting is math, right?
1,000 years.
And more you count, the more it expands the numbers.
Yeah, so counting is not in the literal sense of counting. Of course, literal sense of counting is also math. But what do you do in math? And the first thing that you learn in math is counting, right? But it expands, the subject expands. Every year you study math, right? So from counting, you start additions. Then from there, you go to subtractions, divisions, multiplications, graph, machine learning, engineering, physics.
Up to Google.
Sorry, what is that, Aditi?
And then the place values, all I know is the biggest number is Google for me.
The biggest number is Google. Yeah, that's right.
What does that mean?
Google is a number. You know that? You never knew that? Google is a number.
I thought infinity was the biggest number.
No. Google, yeah, infinity is the biggest number, but Google is probably the biggest known number.
Yeah.
To a lot of children.
Oh, is that why sometimes in Google they have like at the bottom they have a
Huge number, zeros. Right.
No exact number for infinity.
Yeah.
The biggest number.
internal.
Right. So why is this called Sankhya Yoga? Because this yoga is like math. It gives you the essential skill to analyze the world.
To expand?
What do you do in math? You analyze. You analyze, right? What is counting? Counting is basically splitting, right? Suppose there are like,
4, 6, 8.
suppose there are like 30 children in the class.
Yeah.
So you analyze the class by counting. You instead of seeing the entire class of 30 students as one class, you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You count. So you are analyzing the class instead of looking at class as one single bunch. You are analyzing. So the same analysis goes on and on and on and on and on. Machine learning, deep learning, all those things. Everything is math, right? You are seeing that. Everything is math. So that is the reason why this chapter is called Sankhya, because it gives you the ability to analyze. Counting is the fundamental thing in analysis, right? So once you start counting, you can do a lot of things, right? Like once you started counting, you were able to do additions, you were able to do subtractions. If you did not count, if you did not count, you would not even do even subtractions and additions and machine learn, leave alone machine learning, but a lot of stuff would be just like that.
It's like a base.
Unexplored. Yeah, Sankhya is the base of analysis. So that is why this chapter is called Sankhya Yoga. And my maths sir, now after so many years, now I see the truth in that, his statement. He used to say that, see, you should always do math. The more math problems that you solve, the more your mind expands. You can actually take a scale and measure how much your mind expanded. He just used to joke, but there's a lot of meaning in it. Uh, so, so Brahman means expanding mind, and that is the name given to the god in Sanskrit, right? So Esha means this. Brahmii, here they say that it is spiritual, but essentially Brahmii is something that comes from Brahman, which is expanding mind, and spirituality is basically expanding your mind by learning more. See, whatever we are learning in Bhagavad Gita is spirituality, right? It's called spirituality. And what does Bhagavad Gita teach you? It teaches you karma yoga, it teaches you action. The previous sloka, we saw that we have to do action, right? We have to have goals, just that we should not get attached to the results. So, so spirituality, I mean, Brahmii, in one sense is spiritual, but in reality it is basically that godliness, the expanding mind, right? Stithi, you all know Stithi, right? What is Stithi?
Steady.
Yeah, steady or situation, state,
The situation.
right? Yeah, situation. So we are here, Stithi, situation. Pardha, you already know the meaning of Pardha. Son of Pritha. Pritha is Kunti. Na means
Never.
never. Enam. Ena means what? Enam means this. Prapya. Prapya sis swargam. Prapya means get, achieve. So you have to remember these words, the meaning of the words also. You're remembering the words, which is really good, but you should also remember the meanings. Prapya means get or achieve.
Yeah.
Vimuhyati. Muhyati means moha. Moha means sammohaha. Moha means,
Illusion.
yeah, delusion. Moha is basically delusion. So love at first sight is called moha in Sanskrit. I mean, not all love at first sights are moha, but typically for the people with less knowledge, love at first sight is moha. So it's infatuation. Vimuhyati means V is acting as an opposite here in this case. Instead of aiding the word, it is acting as an opposite. So V is V is acting as a supporting word as well. Vimuhyati means one is bewildered. So one who is in moha state is called vimuhyati. Stitva means same as sthiti. It's a, yeah, so steady or being situated. Asyam, asya means Esha, asya, asyam means in this. Antakale, anta means, what is the meaning of anta?
Death?
Anta means end.
Oh.
In Telugu,
I
Hindi,
remember the word antam.
yeah, antam in all Indian languages and Sanskrit means end. See, these words are quite similar to the English. Sanjay. Ant, end. So most of the words are like that. Stithi, situated or steady. Similarly, um, na and no, they are similar. And kale, what is the meaning of kale? Kala means kalam. Yeah, in Telugu it is kalam.
Time?
Yeah, time. Right. So kala means time. Antakala means at the end of the time of one's life. Api. Api means also. Brahma Nirvanam is the spiritual kingdom of God. So Buddha attained Nirvana. You all know that, right? You studied in your books that Buddha attained Nirvana. So Nirvana is basically you getting united with the God, the kingdom of God, going to the kingdom of God. Richati means one attains. So these are the words. Okay. So this again a very deep sloka, lot of good meaning and a lot of powerful meaning also. It is very applicable. See, all the slokas are very useful to our lives, right? Um, so first is, and what this sloka basically says that if somebody is in this state of Brahma Sthiti, then all the delusions are disappear. All the disillusions disappear. And if somebody is always in Brahma Sthiti, and at the time of giving up the body, that means end of life, the person who is in Brahma Sthiti will continue that Brahma Sthiti and attain God. That's what it means. So what is Brahma Sthiti? So Brahma Sthiti is like getting free from all material bondages. See, what are some of the bondages or attachments that tie you up, because of which you cannot do certain things? Some of the bondages in the world. What is the strongest bondage?
Family?
Yeah, you're right. Family is probably the strongest for a lot of people. But even stronger is your own body, right? That is a bondage. You cannot, even if you can do certain things, you will not do certain things.
Well, you protect your own body, and that's how it's like.
Right. We try to protect our own body a lot. See, HAIT, you can do HAIT at least 4 times, 3 times, all the cycles. High intensity, high intensity interval technique, right? Training. So we can do a lot, but our body, we are so worried about our body that we don't do, right? Don't you think so? So that is a bondage, that's a limitation that is tying you up. Similarly, family, like mother, father, just because of your dad or mom, you don't do certain things, right? Suppose your classmate asks you to just your best friend asks you to just come for a hike, you wouldn't do that because your parents won't like it. If you think that your parents won't like it, you don't do that. You don't want to hurt your parents. So that is a bondage. That's a limitation. So when you're free from all bondages, including the bondage of your body, although you are inside you still have a body, but still you're free from all attachments, even to your body, then it is called Brahmasthiti. So Buddha was in that sthiti. A lot of people attempt to be in that sthiti. Uh, they just give up all bondages, and particularly in India, there are a lot of great people like that. Like in our own Telugu person, there's in our own state, um, there is some. You know the name of the person? A Telugu person.
Kind of remember who that person is.
Yeah, Vemana, right? Vemana is one example. So he gave up everything, and he gave up everything, and he wrote so many great poems which give you a lot of insights into this world. So a lot of people try to practice that liberation from material bondage, and that is the highest state of existence. That's the best state in which you can stay, right? So it's like this: you sleep, right? Every day you sleep, and then you get dreams. Do you get dreams? And sometimes those dreams are painful. Sometimes those dreams are extremely happy, filled with happiness, right? So did you ever get up from your dream and cry?
Yeah.
You did, right? See,
I don't remember a time like that, but I'm sure I did.
yeah. So we feel the pain and pleasure in the dreams. We sometimes laugh. Did you see anyone laugh in their sleep? Not much, right?
No.
Yeah, you did not see enough people, but in India that's pretty common because India people live together, and we get to see a lot of things. So people laugh in the sleep, people cry in the sleep, and then when they get up in the morning, it's all gone.
Sometimes I'm in the sleep.
Yeah. So this Brahma Stithi or Brahmii Stithi is basically like that. It is like waking up from sleep. So you undergo all pleasures and pains in the sleep, and when you wake up, all that is gone. You forget everything. So Brahma Sthiti is like that. It is free from all pain and pleasure, because that's just illusion. In the dream, it was just illusion, right? You believed that you were in pain, although you were not really in pain. That is an illusion, right? Delusion or illusion, right? So that is one example of delusion. And then when you wake up, all the delusions are gone all of a sudden for nothing, right? Same thing happens when you reach Brahmi Sthiti. Your all your bondages, your pains and pleasures and everything will seem like illusion to you. Just like when you wake up, all the pains and pleasures that you experience in the sleep appear like illusions to you. The same thing happens when you reach Brahmi Sthiti, right? So this material world, this world that we are living in, where we experience pain and pleasure and bondages, relationships, attachments, desires, and anger, and everything, materialistic thoughts, and all those things. It is like sleep. It is just like sleep. It's an illusion, complete illusion. And sleep is
Well,
Sattva-guna or Tamoguna?
Tamoguna.
Yeah, sleep is Tamoguna. So it's so we wake up and come into Sattva-guna. When we wake up, we come into Sattva-guna, right? The same thing with Brahmi Stithi. We get rid of Tamoguna and reach the state of wakefulness or Sattvaguna. And that is also called enlightenment. In English, it's called enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah, on the chat, I sometimes shout in my sleep. Yeah, that happens, right? Because we experience all sorts of things in our sleep, and then we wake up, we are enlightened, just like enlightenment.
Is that why we do Surya Namaskar and we pray to God in the morning? Because at that time we're in the Brahman state.
Yeah, there are some Amrita Velas. They are called Amrita Velas in Indian languages. Like in Punjabis particularly believe in this a lot. Amrita Vela, they say Amrita Vela. In Telugu also Amrita Ghadiyalu. Vela is also a word in Telugu, but they say Ghadiyalu. Um, Amrita, there are some Amrita Velas which are really very precious for meditating and doing spiritual activities. Like typically morning 4 o'clock. That's why in India, a lot of people get up at morning 4 and try to meditate and do that, do spiritual things, right? So, so enlightenment is basically another way to look at it is we talked about the swing, remember? One extreme to the other extreme. The mind goes from pain to pleasure, pleasure to pain, pain to pleasure. It keeps on swinging, right? So enlightenment can be seen as a stable state where the swing is no longer having any effect on you. Although you sit in the swing doesn't swing. It just stays stationary, right? It happens, right? If nobody pulls you and you don't exert any pressure, you're there. So that is the state that is called Brahmi Stithi, right? So Brahman is basically the opposite of material world, desires, anger. It is just the opposite of that. When your mind is expanding, you cannot be angry. You can check for yourself. When you're angry, your mind doesn't expand, and when your mind is expanding, you cannot be angry. You cannot have desires also when your mind is expanding. So that is the reason why you should keep on as much as possible. You should try to keep a check on your mind, and make sure that it is expanding. It is free. It is expanding, and it is not contracting, and it is not. You can easily see that as you grow up, you will feel the change. So Brahman is basically the opposite of the material world, the bondages, the pain, the pleasure. So that is the state when a person is completely disillusioned from the material world. Material world is a world where we experience pain and pleasure. So when somebody is completely disillusioned, just like you get disillusioned from your dreams, right? When you wake up. So just like that, this Brahmi Stithi is for the knowledge seeker. It is a wakefulness. See how powerful this sloka is? And it is the goal of our lives. The goal of our lives is to reach that state where we are not impacted by pain or pleasure. No amount of swing is going to cause trouble. So we are not going to move. Any amount of force that comes to us, we are not going to swing. So that is the Brahmi Sthiti. And when somebody is in that Brahma Sthiti, he's already godly, right? His mind is like a God's mind, like Rama, Krishna. Their mind was always expanding, and they never got angry, and they never went into the pleasure or pain state. So for such people who are always in the Brahmi state, when death happens, what happens? They continue to be in the Brahmi state, in the godly state, and their soul, remember we talked about in the last class, what you do in the last minute, last second of your life is what you're going to become in the next life. So if somebody says, "You dirty rat," the next life the person is going to become a rat. Remember the joke I told you last class? So you'll be born like a rat in the next life. So um, so that is the reason why we should try to attain this state of Brahma Stithi and continue to be in that state. Like Buddha was like that. He continued to be in the state of Brahma, ever expanding mind. And when your mind is expanding, it is very creative. It is very, very creative. It is subtle. It can see the subtlest of the subtle things. It can go past to the past lives. It can analyze. It can do a lot of. It becomes extremely powerful. So that is the state of Brahma Sthiti. And when a person leaves this body in which he lived the life, uh, the person the person is not the body, right? It's the soul. The person automatically reaches the God, and that is the goal. So there's no rebirth to such a person, because in Brahma Sthiti, if the person leaves the body, he directly attains the God. And that is what is the goal of life. We do not want rebirth. We don't want this pain and pleasure. We want to be one with God. See, in Hindu culture, there's a people say that Krishna had 16,000 wives. You heard that? It is said that Lord Krishna had 16,000 wives. There are stories about it. There's a story. The actual story that goes is that um, uh, there is a demon called Narakasura. He captured 16,108 women and kidnapped them and kept them with himself. So Krishna uh, um, frees those women, and woman has to be married, right? In traditional culture, woman has to be married for protection. So that is why Krishna took all the 16,108 women to be his wives, to protect them. That is the story. But if you look at it in a more um, what do you call metaphoric way, what it means, metaphoric means analogy, means similarity, right? So if you look at it that way, what it simply means is the 16,000 women are like our souls, all our souls. 16,000 is just a random number. It simply means that lots and lots of people. I mean, imagine somebody having 16,000 wives. It doesn't make sense, right? So it's a figurative way of saying many, many, many people. So many, many, many people, our souls, which are the souls, long for the God. Krishna, who is Krishna? He is God, right? So when somebody says Krishna had 16,000 wives, or 16,000 wives were longing for Lord Krishna, it's like all the souls are longing for Krishna. Similarly, when somebody says billions of gopikas were longing for Krishna, it simply means gopikas are a metaphor for our souls. Our souls are longing to unite with the God. So our soul is called Jivatma and God is called Paramatma. Remember we talked about it in the last class, in one of the classes. Parama means ultimate. So ultimate Atma, ultimate soul is the God. All these Jivatmas, means living souls, try to merge with the ultimate soul. That is the goal. And this Brahma Sthiti is what helps people to achieve that goal. Like it helped Buddha. Buddha is just 2000 years old, right? So we know what happened with Gautama Buddha, Lord Buddha, right? So we know, we have more insights into his life than maybe Rama or Krishna. So we know he has proved that the Brahma Sthiti is attainable even through action. He was still alive. He did not completely hide himself in mountains, right? So, so he was in a Brahmasthiti, and through the Brahmasthiti attained nirvana. Because he was in the Brahmasthiti when he died, so he attained nirvana, no rebirth. Right? So you understand? So that is the Brahmasthiti that everyone should try to attain. See, the other example is there are so many rivers in every country. There are so many rivers. What happens to the water in the rivers? Do you know? The rivers keep on
Drains.
flowing, flowing, flowing. But what happens to the water eventually?
It goes into the ocean.
Right, right. All the rivers merge into the ocean eventually. So our souls are like the rivers. They like to merge into the God. God is like the ocean. So that is the eventual goal. And for that goal, uh, the only way is Brahmasthiti. There are many ways to attain Brahmasthiti, but the Stithi is only one. It is called Brahmasthiti. So it is the Stithi or the state where your mind does not swing from one end to the other. It is a state of equanimity. It is equidistant from both the extreme, right? In swing, what happens? One extreme, another extreme. The stable state of the swing is in the center, right? Equidistant from one end to the other end. So the same thing is there in machine learning also. Machine learning also, we find that Brahmasthiti kind of thing for classifying data, equanimity. So that technique is called as support vector machines. We will see why it is called support vector machines. It's really very interesting, and it's a very powerful machine learning algorithm. It's a program. Uh, so here's an example. So they on the one axis, this is called the x-axis, right? This is like a graph. It's there in a graph. There are two axes. One is the x-axis, the other is the y-axis. On the x-axis, there are some numbers, and these numbers represent the height of the person. And on the y-axis, we plot the weights of a person, of the same person, right? X-axis height and y-axis weight. Now, for instance, this person is weighing 52 pound, 52 kgs. This person here, you see the dot, 52 kgs. And what is his height, or his or her height?
160 centimeters.
Right, 160 centimeters. You get the idea, right? So 50 odd kgs and 160 centimeters height. Similarly, this person here, what do you think is his or her weight or height?
His height is around 157.
Yeah, something like 157, 158. And the
his
weight?
weight is like 68, 69.
Right. So you get the idea, right? So now these points are classified as women and men. So the circles are all women and pluses are all men. So I can see that this woman weighs
Weighs about 151.
right. You got the idea. That is the height. 151 centimeters is the height, and so this is the height, and the weight.
Weight is about
Around
55.
Yeah, 55, 56. Right. You get the idea, right? So
Yeah.
this woman, so this is a woman, this is a woman, this is a woman. And then men, this man, the height, yeah, 165 centimeters is the height, and the weight,
Weight is 75.
yeah, around 75, 72, 73, something like that. So you get the idea. So naturally, I mean, it's common that we see that men are slightly taller and heavier than women, right? So that's what is happening now. So this is the data for how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people.
10 people.
Yeah, 10 people. 5 of them men and 5 of them are women. 5 circles and 5 pluses. You understand this, right? Now suppose somebody measures 175 centimeters and weight is 65 kilograms. Is it a man or a woman? So 175 centimeters is here and 65 kgs is here. So if there's a point here, is that a plus or a circle?
Plus?
So for that, what we need to do is we need to draw a line dividing men and women, right? So the line could be like this. Everyone falling on this side is women. Everyone falling on that side is men, right?
That makes the job more easier.
Yeah, so the goal of machine learning is to come up with this kind of a line. The machine learning program will come up with a line like this, right? So, but there is a problem here. There are many lines you can draw which will divide men and women. This line divides women and men. All the lines divide the given data for men and women, right?
Then we need to choose
Maybe this, the
the one
gray
that's close
line,
to the
maybe the gray line.
The gray line is this one.
Yeah, the gray line.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that is one guess. How about you guys? Which line will you choose?
I agree with the DT, the gray line.
The gray line.
The gray line means
So like I don't think they can go above this much size.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, go up to this size. You won't know if it's like up to men or women. Then maybe men and women will have about the same size. Women go 180 centimeters.
Yeah. So, but machine learning tries to come up with a Brahmii Stithi for this line. It tries to come up with a line which is equidistant from both men and women,
Oh.
right? So it's like, suppose somebody, you all know what a court is, right? Court and judge and all that stuff, right? There's a judge in a court. If there's a dispute between two people, both the persons approach the court and go to the judge. The judge decides whose point is right, right? That's what happens in the court. Now,
Yeah.
the judge should be equidistant or should be close to one person. Equidistant, right? So
Yeah.
just like that, the judge is supposed to be in a Brahmii Stithi, in a smaller sense. We are talking about Brahmii Stithi in a very smaller sense. The real Brahmii Stithi is really, really, really very big. It might take several lives for someone to achieve. But we have to practice that Brahmii Stithi in small, small ways. See, what color robes does the judge wear?
Black.
Black. Why?
It's neutral.
Yeah, he has to be neutral. The lawyers also have to be unattached. They have to be neutral. See?
So black or white.
Yeah, so black, mostly black. White has some attribute, but black does not have any attribute, right? It's darkness, basically. There's nothing at all. So that Brahmi Siddhi, we practice this Brahmi Siddhi in many ways. So machine learning also practices it in a very, very small way. So what it does is we select a line as far as possible from the data points of each category. So the men's category and women's category, we want to find a line that is as distant as possible from these points. So how will you find that line? How can you find a line that is
Maybe one that goes from the edge of the top right woman the
Right.
top.
Right. Good. Good. You're
There's
doing.
edge right here to 175.
Right. So what IT is saying is we draw a line through the points at the uh, to the through the points which are at the border, right?
From the top right women and men square charts to the number 175. So
Yeah. So we draw a line through these points which are at the border or boundary, and similarly we draw another line passing through these, and then we find a line midway between the two, right? So
yeah.
that is what this support vector machine algorithm does. So if it is, okay, I'll not even go into that. Ignore the word hyperplane. Just look at it as a line. Hyperplane basically in 2 dimensions is a line. If it is many dimensions, it is called hyperplane. So there could be a third dimension also. If it is there's a third dimension, the line becomes a plane. It's called a plane. And if it is many dimensions, it's called a hyperplane. So, but the essence is it's a line. Okay. So how do you find for these 2 points, for this set of points, we find, see, like we can come up with many lines. So if you draw a line just from one border point and another border point, uh, the margin is very small, right? You see that? But when the boundary is passed through the multiple points, like here,
Very large.
yeah, the margin will be large. So we want to find large margins between the classes, one class and the other. We want to find the widest margin possible. So for that, we need to find points at the border. So these points at the border are called support vectors.
That the one in the middle is the dividing line.
Right, the one in the middle is the dividing line. But to find the dividing line, we want to first find these margins. These are called margins. This is one margin, this is the other margin. We want to find the margin. So,
Properly.
yeah, to find the margins, we have to find the points at the boundary, right? Like in this case, we are finding these points. Now, these points are called support vectors. Why are they called support vectors? So in machine learning, these are not just points, but these are called vectors. What is the difference between a vector and a point? The difference is that a vector, a point has distance, right? Every point has a notion of distance. So that is like the magnitude of the distance, right? From this origin, how far is it from the origin? So that is a point. But a vector has both magnitude and direction also.
Ooh.
So we consider the angle from the axis for vectors. So that is why we consider these points as not just points, but as vectors. So these points are really vectors. So that's why they are called vectors. But why are they called support vectors? They are called support vectors because you can see them like they are supporting the margin, right? These 2
Yeah.
points are supporting the margin.
They
So
support the margin so that we can.
right. So that is the reason why these are called support vectors, right? These are called support vectors. And the algorithm which finds these margins, these support vectors, and then the margins, and then the classifier is called support vector machine. It's machine learning, right? So it's machine.
Yeah.
So it's called support vector machine. See here another example, 2 sets of points. There's a new item that came in. So does this belong to class 2 or class 1? This star.
Class 2.
Yeah, it looks like class 2, right? Because it is closer to these support vectors than these support vectors. So the algorithm finds the support vectors and then finds a classifier like this. See? Classifier, this is called the classifier. This line is called the classifier. This is called the maximum margin. And the point, like you said, is Class 2, belongs to class 2.
Yeah, it belongs to class 2. I can see that clearly. What if one point is right in the middle of the line?
So if there's a point in the middle of the line, yeah, then we have to break the tie. We have to find other ways to break the tie.
Oh.
Good question. Okay, we are just on time. So any questions?
I feel amused by this topic.
Sorry?
Really?
Can you repeat it?
This topic actually, I think we can use it for many species. Like, we can use these charts for different types of. Can we use these types for different types of animals? For humans and for items.
Yes. Actually, flowers, any classes, you can use it for classes, any kind of classes. It could be classes of animals, it could be classes of flowers, it could be classes of
Like
anything.
different types of the like different types of species and different
Yes.
types of the species and like that's all though.
Right. So we can use this algorithm for a lot of things, classifying a lot of things like species. In biology, species. Instead of just weight and height, we are going to look at other features. Remember, weight and height are basically features of a person. So like that, you can have any number of features for a species, right? So you can probably look at the number of legs, then the height of legs, and then the shape of nose. So all those are features. So using those features, not just weight and height, but other features also, you can still come up with points. Only difference is instead of 2 features like this, we had only 2 features here, right? For this problem. For species, there will be maybe 100 features. So in that case, this won't be just 2 dimensions. Here, this is only 2 dimensions, right? There will be 3 dimensions. So the space that we are living in is how many dimensions?
3.
3, right? So there is a height, there's a
Width and depth.
right. So there are 3 dimensions. So like that, you can have 100 dimensions also. It's hard to imagine, but you can theoretically have 100 dimensions, right? Right? So one direction this way, that way, and all that. So there could be 100 directions. So each feature will be plotted in one direction, one axis. So weight, height, color of the hair. If it is black, then maybe 1. If it is gray, 0. If it is grayish black, then it is 0.7 maybe. So like that, you can assign numbers to all the features, and then you can plot all the features. Right? Yeah, good thought, Aditi. So yeah, you're right. This is a very powerful algorithm which can help classify a lot of data. It could be species, it could be anything.
This is so cool.
Yeah. So this is one of the very powerful algorithms in machine learning.
Wow.
And what does it do? It tries to find the Brahmii state. Right? Support vectors are like the pain and pleasure, and it tries to find the Brahmii state in between the pain and pleasure, which does not get disturbed by pain or pleasure. So we are lot of what Bhagavad Gita told is applicable to our day-to-day lives very much, in small ways and in big ways also. We saw the smallest way in this support vector machine algorithm, and we saw the biggest way by looking at the life of Buddha today, right? Okay, any other thoughts, questions?
No, that's all.
Okay, then let us end the class here. with the prayer. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Sanmangalani Santu. See you next week.